Look at you with your fancy motion controllers. Looks like you're ready to start wielding them like a first-class dream shaper. In this tutorial, you'll master the basic controls you learned in the home space. But this time, you'll have the full freedom of edit mode. Use the video player to play through the tutorial steps. Follow the steps carefully. It's not just about getting to the end, it's the journey that counts. So here we are. This is where the magic happens. Edit mode. Somewhere in this scene I've hidden a puppet, which we'll need in later tutorials. I've left some clues to help you find it. But before we search for the first clue, let's remind ourselves how to move around using motion controllers. You should be able to see two imps on the screen, tracking the movement of your motion controllers. If you can't see them, just make sure that you're in front of your PlayStation camera, then hold down the start button on either motion controller until the imps reappear. You can do this at any time to recalibrate your imps if they feel too close, too far away, or off-center. The primary imp is the one with a face. You control this imp with your dominant hand. You can set your handedness in your preferences, which you can find in the options menu. Your secondary imp holds the assembly menu. You can bring it up by holding down the T button on your secondary controller. That's the one underneath that looks like a trigger. Try it now. You won't need it just yet, so go ahead and release the T button to hide it again. Your imps are used to move around the scene in 3D space. Using either controller, press and hold the move button, and just twist and tilt the controller a little bit. We call this using the grab cam. Where you grab in space is important, as that's the point your view will rotate around. Now try grabbing with either move button and looking around you. Okay, let's turn back towards the shapes floating on the island. Reach out with your imp, then hold the move button on that controller to grab that point in space. Then, while you hold the move button, pull that controller back towards you to pull yourself forward in the scene. You can do this with either controller, so you can alternate them to pull yourself along. Use the move buttons to grab cam towards those two shapes on that cloud, then push yourself back away from them. You can even move from side to side in a similar way. Be careful not to press both move buttons at the same time. That triggers another function, which I'll explain in a moment. If you do it by mistake, don't worry. Just use your primary X button to press the red button that appears by your secondary imp. When you're comfortable with moving and looking around with the grab cam, you're ready to move on to the next step. Press the arrow button on the video to continue. My first clue is hidden somewhere on this island. We should probably look around these objects and see if we can find it. To do that, we first need to set our imp reach. Remember I told you not to press both move buttons at the same time in the last step? Well, now's the time to do just that. Hold your imps so that their tips are either side of the shapes on the cloud. Then tap both move buttons at once. Don't hold them down this time. You'll see a circle with a number in it for a moment. That means your imp reach has changed. You'll notice that very little else will change, but now your imps can easily reach the shapes on the cloud, as if they're at arm's length. That's why we call this maneuver changing your imp reach. Now that you can reach further in the scene, you can easily move around the shapes. Just grab Cam onto the shapes and rotate your point of view around them. The point in space where you grab is the point you'll rotate around, so remember to wiggle the imp when you grab Cam to check its position. Try that now and look for the clue. Once you've found it, move on to the next step.